What's up, everyone? Today, we're talking all things e.l.f. Cosmetics. I'm so excited to share the best from this brand. You're gonna see a lot of these applied to my face so you can see what they look like. I'm wearing generally a full face of e.l.f. There might be like one or two things I just didn't have, but we're also gonna talk about the worst products because there are definitely some stinkers in the bunch. And then some stuff that's just kind of mid, right in the middle where I feel like it's okay. You know what I mean? Like if you were in a pinch, it's fine. Now, I have started or resurrected this series on my channel. So the most recent one I did last month was the best and worst of Essence Cosmetics, which is right around this same price range. Honestly, I think Essence is generally a little bit cheaper, and I have some holy girls from that brand. So if you have not seen that video, or maybe this is your first time here on my channel, definitely check that out. I will link it below. You can watch that next because you're gonna start a shopping list at the next time you go to the drugstore, and there's gonna be some stuff from Essence you're gonna want to add to it too. Or maybe you're building your cart online, which is definitely what I do. My Ulta cart right now is chaos. There's so much in my like online cart. I'm like, ooh, Jessie, I haven't checked out yet. I got to remove some stuff from that cart. Okay, let's dive into it. So we're gonna start with the best because I just want to. Let's start on a happy note. Can we start with my two favorite brushes? I know we're here for makeup, but we need brushes to apply it. And the second I sat down to start planning this video out, these were the first two things on my mind. These are the best brushes they make. So this one right here is their, oh, it's all worn off, their fluffy eye blender brush. It's a couple dollars, so soft, so good. It has lasted through so many washes. And then my number one brush recommendation from this brand is their Ultimate Blending Brush. This one is so good for all your cream products, whether it's foundation. I like to use it for cream bronzer, cream blush. Like it works for all of that, and it doesn't leave streaks or anything like that. And the price is amazing. So again, I've had this one a while. I feel like it lasts through a lot of washes, so it's so good. Don't sleep on this one. Especially if you're new to cream, bronzer, and blush and you're like, I feel like I never apply it right. That would be a good one to look into because it is, I feel like it's foolproof. Not that you're a fool, you know what I mean? I'm gonna start with one I feel like everyone sleeps on nowadays because it's been around for a while, but it is truly one of my favorite foundations. It is the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation. This is what I'm wearing today. I'll show you me applying it. It's a little bit, well, I was gonna say it's a little bit light for me right now, but actually I think it's okay. This is just exactly as it says it is. It's satin. It's not super dewy. It's not super matte. So I tend to like this medium coverage foundation on top of a slightly glowy base. So like a glowy primer, a glowy SPF, which we'll talk about some here in a second. I feel like it looks best that way because then it kind of balances out really nicely where it's still, there's a little bit of the glow peeking through, but you're still getting that medium plus coverage. It just looks a little more natural, and I feel like really, really pretty. So this is one I loved years ago. I fell in love with again recently. One thing to note is this does have a very particular smell, and it smells like clean laundry. I actually really like this smell, but I could see where someone's sensitive to scent, that might turn them off because it's definitely noticeable. So something to report, but I love the frosted glass bottle as well. It's just nice, you know? It's just nice. I do think though this is hit or miss. Like I've definitely read some comments from you guys when I've recommended this in the past where you're like, okay, I tried it and I really didn't like it. So I think it's one of those things that it's not wildly expensive. I think you should give it a try if you haven't. Some of you guys absolutely love it the way I do, and I feel like some don't. It's just one of those things. I think if you had overly dry skin, like overly dry, I don't think you'd like it. But I feel like everyone else would. Like I'm kind of in the middle. I'm somewhat dry, but not too dry, and I really like it. And I feel like it would also be good even if you had somewhat of oily skin. The candle I have burning is like a wood, you know, wick, and I feel like it's so loud, and every time I film in here, if I'm quiet, I feel like you guys can hear it. I'm assuming you can't, but it feels like it's like so loud. Okay, here's, I think, an underrated one as well. We're starting off strong. The e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer. This is so pretty. I do think you want to use a little more than you think. When I first started using this a while back, I was just using a little bit just to like tap in and brighten, and I think it can be pretty that way. But if you get a nice amount on, it is a full-on concealer. I feel like it's brightened that area. It's concealed, of course. A lot of pen style concealers or brighteners like this will brighten, but they don't have that coverage. And I feel like this actually does have some medium coverage, which is cool and kind of rare. And I actually like this better than the thing it's kind of duping, the YSL like Touche Éclat. I've had different iterations of the YSL product. This is the only one I've kept. Those I'm pretty sure are gone. They've been decluttered because this is the one I was reaching for because it has more coverage. I like it better and it's so much cheaper. So I think this is something, if you've not tried it and you need a new concealer, give this a try. I don't think it's like wildly glowy or anything. It does brighten, but it's not like it's shimmery or anything like that. I better start organizing myself here. I feel like I've got stuff everywhere. Okay, so another thing, I feel like when these came out years ago, people were really into, but now with the cream and liquid bronzer blush craze holding strong, I feel like these are overlooked. But if you like powder, bronzer, and blush, these are some of my favorite in my entire collection. I grab these all of the time. This one is their primer-infused bronzer in Forever Sun-Kissed. I feel like it's super, super easy to blend into the skin. It doesn't look streaky or patchy. It's just a soft, good powder. I really think it is. So I feel like it's just one of those things that because not no one, but a lot of people aren't talking as much about powder bronzers, it gets overlooked, but it's really nice. I think it lasts a long time. They're saying it's primer infused, so I'm sure the idea is that it's supposed to be more long wearing. And I do feel like both of these last all day when I wear them. This is their primer infused blush. It's their shimmer blush in Always Preppy. I think this shade is still available. I love it. I feel like it's super pink and pretty, but any of the shades, I feel like these are all really good across their shade range. And so yeah, I just think it's pretty, but I always feel that these last, like I said, a very long time, which is really nice, obviously. Let's talk mascara. So I'm not wearing an e.l.f. mascara because I didn't have one open right now, and I've got like 4 mascaras open right now, so I'm like, Jessica, no. I almost went out to the store to get it. I'm like, no, but I know how I feel about these 2 mascaras. So I have 2 favorites from the line for sure that I would recommend, and they're for 2 very different looks. So if you like kind of what I like, where it still looks a little natural, but it's got some va-va-voom to it. Like I want it to be curled and I want it to be kind of up. I guess that would be the curled part. I want it to look like I have mascara on, but not so spidery. That, you can get this look with their Lash It Loud mascara. This is a different one. What did I put on today? The Tower 28 one. The Lash It Loud has a very similar look where it's volumized, but I think still very wearable. And I love that mascara. That might be, once I'm like through some of the ones I'm using, that might be one that I repurchase next because I kind of miss having it in my collection because it's been quite a while. But if you like more of a wearable, very soft, fluttery lash, I would go for their Lash and Roll mascara. It's meant to be a dupe for the Benefit Roller Lash, which is that same idea where it's very wearable. It's kind of almost just soft looking. I like that, but it's not my favorite because that's not my favorite look, but I do recommend that to a lot of people that ask for that kind of mascara. That's one of my favorite things to recommend because I do think it does a great job. Neither of those mascaras like flake on me or anything weird like that either. Can we talk about their eyeshadow? There's a lot of different eyeshadow palettes they recommend. I have one particular larger palette that is amazing, and then I also have their smaller ones. There's a bunch of stuff in between. I feel like some of their other ones that are like randomly launched in limited edition are not always the same quality as the ones I'm gonna recommend. And so that's one thing with e.l.f. I'm always leery of, like their limited edition ones are not always as good eyeshadow wise. So just keep that in mind. The palette I've talked about for years, I still love, I still reach for all the time, is their new Classics palette. I think this is a unique neutrals palette because it's mostly neutral. If you like covered some of it up, it really is a neutrals palette, but it has some just other interesting things. I feel like the shimmers on this are super wearable and pretty. This is not gonna be like a palette where the shimmers are like super see from space. They're really soft shimmers. I prefer that. So I actually really like this, but not everyone does, of course. You know yourself. So if you want like a super shimmery shadow, this is not going to be the palette for you. But if you like it to be more satin and just like slightly sheeny, you will love this. And I just feel like it all blends really easily too. That is $14. And that might be one of the longest running palettes. I mean, I don't know that this is true, but you know, a lot of their palettes come and go, but that is one that they've had for quite a while. And every time I go to recommend it, I check online to make sure they still sell it, and they always do. So there you go. They must be doing something right. So I have their bite-size eyeshadows. I cannot believe the quality for the price. These are, Yeah, they're down to $3. Have they always been 3? I thought they were 4, but maybe I'm just thinking of 4 shadows. $3, and why are these so good? Let me just show you. The one I'm wearing today is definitely my favorite. This thing is beat up. Like, it has been used a lot. This is the Rose Water one. I use this 3rd shade in all over the lid, and then I blended with the 2nd shade in, and then I just tapped on top of the center of the lid, the lightest shimmer shade. It is the prettiest complete look. It definitely, if you have like hazel or green eyes, you will love this. It will bring out the green in your eyes. I just feel like it's wearable, but definitely still got a little bit of drama, which for me, you guys know half the time I'm not wearing eyeshadow at all. And so I feel like this gives a little drama. They have that darker shade you could use to line your eye. You could, of course, darken your crease or your outer corner. It is so good. Like, honestly, I could get rid of all the other ones. This is my most used, but I really, really like their cream and sugar one. This one's also pretty old, but the shimmers are absolutely gorgeous. These do give you that beautiful shimmer. Like, this is definitely a different formula than the new Classics formula. But another one, if you just want matte shades, this one is really good. It's their I Love You a Latte one. It's truly just browns, right? And that's nice to have. Even if you have like tons of shimmers and palettes, this can be one of those like fill in the gaps kinds of things where if your palette you're using doesn't have a good blending shade for you, this would be nice to just have right there to grab, or even like for travel, you know? I have a question for you guys. So back when I was teaching, I always kept a little makeup bag at work with like touch-up makeup, like little things here and there that I might want, especially like if it were a long day or we had conferences or, you know, whatever. Do you guys do that? I mean, not just teachers. I mean, how many of you guys, maybe that's the question. How many of you guys keep a makeup bag at your place of work? I'm curious. Was I weird? I don't think I was. I think a lot of people do that. I love this stuff. I thought I should start with this because some of you guys that have watched a lot of my videos, I thought this was breaking me out. I learned it wasn't this. So that is great news because I stopped using it for a while thinking it was. So this is the Sun Touchable Whoa Glow SPF 30. This is meant to dupe, in my mind, the Supergoop Glow Screen SPF. I've loved that stuff for years, but of course it is so much more expensive than this. It is different. The Supergoop is a lot glowier, but I kind of like the finish of this. I'll show you me applying it right now. It is slightly glowy, but it's really not overly so. So I feel like it's a very wearable base underneath makeup because then if you want to amp up the glow, you can, which I'll show you what I used over this in a minute. But it's just a really nice moisturized base with a little bit of glow. Makeup goes on top of it really, really well. I've used this with so many different foundations. I've worn this just alone while I'm out running errands, whatever, just around the house. It's a really good SPF. It's a really nice finish. So I really like it. I love that a dupe-ish exists for the Supergoop. I still own the Supergoop and love that too. But again, that one's glowier. So it's just a very different vibe. So love this stuff. Now, this is one of e.l.f.'s probably, I wonder if this is like their #1 bestseller. Their Halo Glow Liquid Filter. Obviously a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury one that looks exactly like this, same packaging, everything. I might like this one better. And I've mentioned that in dupes videos in the past. I might like this one better than the Charlotte Tilbury because this actually weirdly provides coverage. Especially, I didn't apply it this way today. Today, I just kind of painted it in the areas I like a little more glow, like my upper cheek area, in the center of my forehead. Today, I just tapped it in with my beauty sponge. But if you use like a foundation brush, or even honestly, one that works really well is the Ultimate Blending Brush I mentioned earlier. If you use that and just tap it into the skin, it provides like a little bit of coverage. It's of course really glowy and beautiful. And again, foundation goes on top of it so beautifully. So the glow you see on my forehead is only this with the foundation on top. Obviously, you'll see in a minute, I put on highlighter in this region, so that's not quite the same glow, but you can see it there, and I think it is really pretty. I definitely put a little bit of powder on top when I use this just to kind of set it, but I like that you can still see the glow. That's the goal, right? Like not too glowy, just like that right in the middle. So I really, really highly recommend this. You can use it in so many ways. You could use it as a highlighter to tap on your face. You could mix it with your foundation to make it a little glowier. It's really pretty. I love it. The O Face foundations are another viral bestseller from them. The one I'm wearing today is the shade Effortless. Yeah, I still have, this is definitely my favorite shade. I can say that with certainty. I have not quite landed on a shade from them that I feel like is my perfect everyday shade, which is such a shame. So the ones I have are No Regrets, Standing Ovation, and No Doubt. Standing Ovation and No Doubt are both neutral shades. So I'll show you swatches, of course. This one is No Doubt. It's definitely got more of that brown nude, but it's a little too brown, like for my own lips. It just doesn't look right. And then Standing Ovation is a little more pinky. But again, none of these are quite right for my everyday shade. So let me know if you have a recommendation. The other one, well, let me show you Effortless, the one I'm wearing compared to those. It's just a little bit deeper and a little bit like more berry-like. And the final one is a little more red, and this one's called No Regrets. This one is beautiful. So when I'm wearing a red, this is one I sometimes reach for. I am very picky about my reds, but this is one that does make your teeth look white. So if you're looking for that, this is one that does that. So I love this formula though. It's super comfy and moisturizing. I'm not wearing a lip liner with it today. I do think these need a lip liner. I feel like I say that every time and I'm never wearing a lip liner, but I do feel like sometimes because they're so moisturizing, you almost need that border around it to kind of keep it in, but it's so comfy. It's so pretty. One swipe pigmentation, very high quality lipstick for a crazy price. I have the Super Mario Brothers theme song stuck in my head. All right, a favorite of mine will come as no surprise, the e.l.f. Wow Brow. It's the brow gel that's tinted. You can just brush into your brows. They're done. I have gone through so many of these. My only complaint is that I run through it so fast, but the price is right. It's like $5, and I just feel like it gives the most quick application for a finished look, especially if you don't have a lot to fill in. I don't think you'd love this if you have a lot more to fill in your brows, because this is definitely more of a light look. Like, it doesn't apply a ton of product, which is I think why I like it right now, because I don't have a lot to fill in, but I just want it to look a little more put together. I also don't feel like this is something that's gonna like hold your brows in place the way like a long wearing like clear brow gel would. This is not gonna be that. It really doesn't. I feel like it stays in place well enough, but if I know I don't want them to move around, I would grab a separate clear brow gel and go over it. Just FYI. I was surprised by how much I like these Power Grip primers. So I have the two different versions, the original Power Grip primer, and then I have the Power Grip with 4% niacinamide. I mean, honestly, with skincare in products, a lot of times there's not the amount you need in there to really make a difference, but I don't think it hurts. So if you're wanting to add in more niacinamide into your routine, this would be a way to do it. But for me, I guess my point is I'm not depending on my makeup to be my skincare. But again, it doesn't hurt. So if I were to like buy just one, I would probably just buy the original, but they perform, I really think, exactly the same. I like it because when I do take the time to use it, I'll just focus it on the center of my face. Mostly I usually don't go out here just because sometimes I feel like it can mess with how my cream looks. But in the center of my face, I feel like it does a really good job holding on to makeup. It really does grip it. So yeah, I like them. I liked these better than the Milk gripping primer, you know, the famous one. That one I almost felt it was just like too much, and this one just performs a little bit better, and I feel like my makeup actually looks good on top of it. So there you go. Let's talk about the middle of the road products, the meh products. So these are ones that aren't necessarily bad, but they might only be right for a certain person, or they're just okay, you know, but they're not terrible. So let's start with their new product, their Putty Color Correcting Eye Brightener. So I've been using this for a few weeks now, maybe a little longer. And it's definitely not a standalone product. Like, this is not gonna be something I'm gonna tap on the inner part of my eye because it's like a corrector shade. It's not gonna be something I tap on there and then be done. You almost have to put on a concealer on top or something, because at least for this versus my skin tone, it's kind of obvious. Like, it's a little bit more orange than my skin tone. But the idea, of course, is that tone is supposed to cancel out purples, blues, and all that you might have going on. I do think it does cancel it out pretty well, but like I said, there are other correctors I use that can be standalone, like the Bobbi Brown one I've loved for years. I can tap that in and leave, and it looks perfect. It's not obvious, but it corrects, and it's just a little bit more than this. So I don't think this is bad, but you just have to make sure you're wearing it with a concealer as well. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's my only complaint, but it is not bad. So if you've been wanting to try a corrector, I would give this one a try. If you're curious, the shade, I have it in light medium. Okay, I don't have this one in front of me, but the e.l.f. Brow Lift, the one that's like clear, this stuff works. I just don't use this type of product, so it wasn't one that I've kept. But if you are into like the really like glued down brow look, that will give it to you. They also sell an applicator that does help when you're kind of pressing it in. I would definitely recommend, if you're gonna buy the brow lift, get the tool, because it does make a difference. I've tried using it without it, and it's just not easy to use. So I really feel like they should just sell it with it. Either way, if you have been wanting to try that, because there's a lot of high-end versions of this out there, I would try the e.l.f. one, because I do think it worked just as well as the high-end versions that I've tried. Okay, I tried it again, and I still don't like it, you guys. It's the e.l.f. Glossy Lip Stain. So many people like this. I know so many of you guys like this. I don't know. I bought another shade, and I still don't like it. Like, and maybe it's just that, like the color that it stains to, I don't like on my lips, any of the ones I've tried. And so I don't know. I guess it's just me. Seemingly a lot of you guys like it. This is the one in basic beige that I have in front of me. It's kind of a pretty color. It definitely stains, so it does its job. It remains glossy for just a little bit, and then the stain is left behind. My guess is this was meant to be similar to like the Lancome Absolute lip lacquers that I loved for so long, that are like, it's like a glossy lip stain. That's exactly what it is. But those definitely stay glossy longer. But yeah, so it's okay. It's okay. I felt like I had to put it in the mid, because even though I don't like it, I feel like I can't be the only one that, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people do like it. So I feel like if you were really eyeing it, it might be worth a try, because you might like it. So this is one I actually like, but I don't know that it's like such a difference that it would be in my best category yet. It's still newer to me too. It's their new liquid poreless putty primer. So we're gonna talk about in a little bit their putty primers that are like in the pot that you kind of get some out and tap it in. I like this better than that, but that's more of a, this is just the way I like a liquid primer. I don't like digging out of a thing for that, but I feel like it does fill in the pores. My makeup lasts a little bit longer, so I've still been reaching for this all the time, but it's just still really new to me, so I'm not totally sold on it. I've been trying to compare, like, okay, when I wear it on days versus when I don't, like, do I feel like my makeup lasts longer? I think it does, but I can't decide if I'm just in my head. So I'm still working through my thoughts on it, but I do enjoy it. If you use a poreless type primer every day and you need a new one, I would say I think it's good enough. I would give it a try. An oldie but a goodie, the Instant Lift Brow Pencil. This I think is so good. It deposits the right amount of color, but it does it really quickly, because it really warms up on the brow, and I feel like I can so easily brush it through. So it definitely feels very creamy, which is funny because when I'm swatching it here, I don't feel like it feels creamy, but there's something about when I'm putting it in the brows, it's so easy. And it's a little bit thicker than most brow pencils. Like, they sell a micro brow pencil, which is fine. This one's thicker, but I like it better. I've repurchased this one a lot over the years. The reason it's in the mid category is because I don't think it lasts a crazy amount of time. Like, I think it can not easily, but it can definitely rub off throughout the day if you're not careful. I feel like if I put a clear brow gel on top of it, it stays in place. Like, the color stays too. But just something to be aware of. All right, I toggled around with this one. I put the Halo Glow Beauty Wands. These are their new launch. I put these in the mid. I don't think any of them are bad. I just don't think they're like revolutionarily wonderful. Obviously, they were duping the Charlotte Tilbury ones, which everyone's duped at this point, but it's still exciting to try them. You know, I don't know. I still get excited to try them all. None of these are bad, but they're not mind-blowing. So I'll show you me applying the bronzer or contour shade. I have it in light medium here. It blends in quickly. I think it can stay pretty well, but it doesn't feel like, there's other drugstore ones I've tried that feel maybe slightly better, and I think that's why I moved these to the medium. The blush wand is really pretty. I'm not wearing it today, but it is really pretty. And then the highlight, I'll show you me applying this. This, if I were to get one, I think the highlight is what I recommend. I know I bounced around about which one I would recommend, but it's just because I've been trying these more and more. And I feel like every time I talk about them, I've tried them longer, so I have new thoughts, more experience with them. Now, at this point, having tried them the longest, I think the highlight's the best one, because it's so easy to tap right onto your cheekbones. It's so pretty, blends in, it doesn't end up being a strip like on your face. So yeah, those are my thoughts on those. If you're curious how they like look, you squeeze the product up into the sponge. So they definitely get a little messy after the first few uses. Just be aware of that. Okay, this one, I thought about moving to my favorites, but I'm leaving it in mid, the e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation. I think it's pretty darn good. The only reason it's in mid is because it definitely leaves a very powdery look to the face. Now, that can be remedied by applying a little bit less or spraying it with the setting spray, because I definitely feel like that benefits a lot from a setting spray. I just don't always have the time. And so a lot of times when I've worn it, it has coverage. It really does a good job as a powder foundation, but it just looks really dry and it really catches that peach fuzz. So setting spray helps, but that's why I bumped it down to the mid range. But it is really good if you want a powder that's got coverage, that has it. The Putty Bronzer, not the luminous one, but the regular Putty Bronzer and the regular Putty Blush, not the luminous one, are in this mid category. I think they're pretty good. My biggest complaint always is that the pot is so small, it's hard to get a brush in there. I just want it to be a little bit bigger so I can easily swirl my brush. All my favorite cream bronzers have a bigger opening, so it's easier to get my brush in there. But I do think those products are actually pretty good. The more and more I've used them over the past year or two, they definitely can last pretty well, surprisingly well. And once you get your application method down, like your preferred way of doing it, I feel like it works really nicely. So let's move into the worst category. And we'll go ahead and start with the luminous versions of the Putty Bronzer and Blush. Are these them? Yeah, these are the luminous Putty Bronzer. I just feel like they tend to look a little bit patchy. And I can't decide if that's because of the luminous quality to it or a formula shift, but I don't think they're like the worst thing in the world. You can definitely make them work, but it's not one that I would ever be like, you should run out and get it. It just wouldn't be on the list. So that's why any of the luminous line of the Putty Bronzer and Blush, it's on my worst. Both of the kinds of camo concealers are on my worst. If I were to have to pick one, I would go for the more like hydrating one. But I've always felt like anytime I've used them, you can make them work. Again, it's like most concealers. You can make them work. They can definitely give you coverage. So I know a lot of you guys watching this are like, I like it. But for me, I've tried so many concealers, and even in the drugstore realm, I just feel like there's so many better ones out there. And if you want to know my number one, I know a lot of you guys already know, my number one favorite concealer happens to be a drugstore one. It's $10. It's only on Amazon because it's the brand Catrice, but it is so good. So when I know there's so much better out there, it's really hard for me to recommend this. These both, especially the original, tended to look really dry and crepey. I felt like any concealer is going to sink into fine lines, but these did it more so, especially the hydrating one. And I just felt like with the original one, it would always be obvious where that ended and where my like foundation began. Like I could never get it to meld properly. So I just am not a fan of their camo concealer lines. Their Sheer Slick Lipstick. Every time, it's meant to kind of give that like sheer wash of color, which I'm a big fan of. But for whatever reason, these gave my lips the kind of Kool-Aid lip stain look. And I know some people, that's what you're wanting. And so if so, you might like this. It never looks good on me. And so that was one that any shade I've tried, I saw, they might only have like one shade on their site right now. But either way, I was not a fan of that at all. Those got decluttered pretty quickly. Okay, the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. This was one I originally loved. And I thought about moving this to the mid category, but I was like, no, because it looks really pretty when you first apply it, at least in my experience. And that's why I loved it. But I started to realize over the weeks of using it that I was like, oh my gosh, after like 2 hours, it looks horrendous on my skin. It'd break apart on my nose, which I'm kind of used to. It would look horrible everywhere. And that was kind of a new experience for me, trying all these different things. I was like, this is not normal. And so I had to like come out as if this was big news. I had to like come out a month later on my channel and be like, I'm so sorry I recommended this to you guys. I've tried it longer and I hate it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on that product in particular. Like, have you tried it? Do you love it? Did you notice what I noticed on like the wear time with it? Because if a foundation's gonna break down after like 6 or 7 hours, I'm a little more forgiving on that because I'm like, well, you know, you're going about your life, you're touching your face. But I mean, it would be like just a few hours and it would start to look really bad. Okay, their Expert Liquid Liner. Ooh, this is the kind, at least in my experience, that you'd put it on and it would just start to creep. Like, you know, when a liquid liner, you want it to just stay where you put it, but sometimes it'll just start bleeding out. This was that liner. I would avoid this. I'm just not a fan of this kind of liquid liner, but that's, again, a personal choice. But yeah, it bleeds a lot, like a lot. Used it 3 times and was like, okay, never again. Okay, their Shadow Lock Eyelid Primer. This has been around forever. And I do think they, from the original one back in the day, I think they've improved the formula a bit now. So that's good. But I just don't think it's great. If you want an eyelid primer to really lock in your eyeshadow, I would go for the Milani one. It's maybe $1 or 2 more, if that, probably depending on where you buy it. But it is so much better. It really holds on to shadow. It kind of blanks out the area a little bit before you put on eyeshadow. The e.l.f. one is just not great. Even the newer, if it is newer, even the newer version. I think that's everything. There's so many other products they make. I was scrolling through their site while I was planning for this and I'm like, man, oh man, there's so much out there. But these were the ones that were top of mind, things I've tried in the past few years. Yeah, I hope it was helpful or just fun, whatever. I do have links to everything I mentioned down below. If you do purchase anything with those links, I try to remind you from time to time. It does support my channel. I might make a small commission. I use affiliate/referral links for all of the links I link for anything ever. So it doesn't sway whether I say a product's good or bad because, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense anyway, I love you guys so much. If you want to catch some more of my stuff, I do drugstore dupe videos. I can link that playlist. I do those every other month-ish. Like I said, will link my best and worst of Essence. Stay tuned. Next month, we're going to have our next installment in this best and worst series. It'll be another brand. I think I know which brand it's going to be at the drugstore, so that's exciting. And I hope you'll subscribe if you are new. I know a lot of these kinds of videos can sometimes pull in some new people. So if you are new, I'm Jessica. Nice to meet you, 30-something minutes into this video. I hope you stick around. I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. That will mean you'll get to find my videos a little more easily. You'll be recommended ones it thinks you might like to see, especially like drugstore makeup ones. But yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.